You have a dream. You have a dream about a good life, about your perfect life, your perfect future. As we get older, time goes by. For some of us, the dream starts to die, and we have all sorts of excuses and explanations why we didn't live our dream. I want to take you on a journey through the lives of Vince and Nolan and show you what happens to their dreams. Imagine Vince and Nolan. They are friends and go to school together. They are both 8 years old, so it is still pretty early in their lives. They are friends and they are very similar. Sometimes they get good grades, sometimes bad ones. The difference between them is that Nolan always blames it on the teacher. He says that the teacher makes the tests too hard and can't explain the material properly. And maybe he's right, because Vince also gets bad grades and thinks the same way about the teacher. But there is a tiny difference between Vince and Nolan, and it is that Vince responds in a different way to bad grades. Nolan says it is the teacher's fault and therefore studies less. He doesn't see the point in studying for a test that is too hard anyway, whereas Vince tries to adapt to the teacher as much as possible, even if the teacher makes the tests too hard and can't explain the material properly. Nolan always says to Vince, "Why do you study so hard for a teacher who is an asshole?" And Vince often replies, "I can't change him, so I try to make the best of the situation." Vince has that feeling that he doesn't want to give up studying because of one of his teachers. Vince here is making use of habit 1. He is proactive, while Nolan is just passive. A few years later, they are about to finish school, and both have to decide what they want to be in life, but both don't know what they want to be. Nolan is still passive, like back when they were kids, and he mentions that he will decide some other day. Vince, on the other side, reflects about what he can do well and what he wants to do for the rest of his life. It takes Vince a full year, but he finds that he is very good with language, so Vince decides to become a teacher or an interpreter. Nolan is good with numbers, but not that good with languages. But he doesn't reflect on his skills or passions or what he wants to be in life, so he just goes with what Vince has chosen. Nolan's grades have just been good enough to join the college class for language. What Vince did here was he became proactive and found his talent. If done properly, he can now start to make use of habit 2 and begin with the end in mind. Whereas Nolan doesn't know his purpose in life and can't begin with his end in mind because he isn't a proactive person. Vince now really thrives in college. He's good with languages, loves what he's doing, and is imagining himself every single day being a great father and grandfather for his children and grandchildren. In his mind, he envisions how his kids will be exceptional and will live the good life because he loves what he's doing and makes money with it, so that later he will have a lot of energy left and will have developed the teaching skills to help his kids whenever they need something. So Vince is making use of habit 2. He can now begin with the end in mind and shape his life in this direction, whereas Nolan now struggles with the language classes and doesn't know what the next step is going to be, so he can't make use of habit 2 and cannot begin with the end in mind. And he also doesn't make very much use of habit 1 and is not a very proactive person, so he just stays in college and lets the time pass by. After college, Nolan doesn't know what the next step is. He looks to Vince, and Vince is preparing for a great career. Because Vince's grades are excellent, he can now work in tourism, and he thinks that tourism is even better than being a teacher, because he wanted to see the world. Nolan wants to do the same because he always listens when Vince excitedly talks about his plans and dreams of seeing the world. But he can't. Because his grades are too bad, he has been disorganized and undisciplined in college. He has no dream and therefore no motivation to study and reach his goal. Nolan has a very difficult time in college, making use of habit 3, putting first things first. For Vince, this was an easy one because when you begin with the end in mind, you know in which direction you want to go and can easily see the things you have to put first. Nolan is a little pissed. He has tried some jobs here and there but can't find a job like Vince. Vince is still Nolan's best friend, and Vince recognizes that Nolan has some trouble finding a job. So Vince looks and finds something that he thinks is an awesome deal. There is a company who looks for 2 people to work abroad for 1 year. The company wants you to do the dirty work, and also you get no payment other than board and lodge, but therefore you can see the world and get the best qualification for a job that is stress-free and you can earn a lot of money in. Vince excitedly shows this to Nolan, but Nolan doesn't want to do this. He says it is unfair and that this is a win-lose deal because he gets no extra cash and has to do the dirty work. Whereas Vince still thinks that this is a win-win deal. Vince thinks that the company wins because they get a cheap employee to do the dirty work for 1 year, and that the employee also wins because he gains a lot of experience and gets the opportunity to prove himself. Vince here did understand the meaning of habit 4 and thought win-win, while Nolan got it wrong and forgot that win-win is also about seeing the other person, or in this example, the company, winning too. Vince's life is getting better and better with each second. Nolan's life pretty much stagnates. They both are now in their 30s, and they both have a girlfriend and both are thinking about marriage. But they are not sure because both fight with their partners from time to time. When Nolan fights with his girlfriend, he's stressed out because of his job, and also he believes that he's always right. So the fights get worse every time. Vince on the other side is pretty much safe as his money and not stressed out by life, so he has some time left to learn about relationships. A co-worker of Vince recommends him some books, including The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. Vince reads it and learns that fighting is normal in a relationship and that it happens from time to time in every relationship. And also that in any conversation you have to seek first to understand and then to be understood. After these insights, he no longer gets a panic attack every time he thinks about marriage. He also tells his girlfriend about the techniques in the book, and their relationship gets better and better with each day. Nolan, on the other side, is too stressed out in his life to learn about relationships and does not make use of habit 5, to seek first to understand and then to be understood. Some years later in their lives, when they are 45, Richard, another friend of Vince, wants to start a business and he has a great idea for the growing Chinese market. But he doesn't speak Mandarin, so he asks Vince if he would like to help. At first, Vince says that he doesn't know anything about the Chinese market or growing a business, but his friend says to him, "Vince, in college I studied business, so I'll handle the business part. This is my strengths. You just have to use your strengths and translate." After Vince has spent some time and has done some detailed research, he now is convinced that starting a business with Richard is a good idea. Over the next years, the business grows, and they become incredibly rich. Nolan, on the other side, got a little grumpy over all those years because he's not living his dream and not liking his life, but still remains passive. Nolan's attitude towards other people is that you can't trust them when it comes to money or business. Nolan says to Vince that he would never have taken such a risk of founding a business with a friend like Richard. Nolan says that because he doesn't trust other people, but also because he's a little jealous of Vince. Nolan says, "I want to be in charge, and I think other people don't strain as hard as I do when it comes to business." Vince then often says to him, "Don't you think that other people can add something meaningful to your life?" Vince here did understand the power of synergizing with other people to create something even bigger. Vince founded a business with a friend and they made it so that 1 + 1 equals $11 million. Whereas Nolan doesn't see the potential of synergizing with other people. He does his stressful day job day in and day out because he's afraid of risks and doesn't believe in others. Now Vince and Nolan are both 62 years old. They are still friends, but they only see each other 2 to 3 times a year because of the different ways of living. Nolan is still living in the city they went to school together and is working in a hectic 9-to-5 job even though he is 62 years old. One day, Nolan got some problems with his heart and his doctor says to him it is because of all the stress in his life and prescribes him some pills and advises him to never get upset again because otherwise he might suffer a heart attack he won't survive. Vince, on the other side, sold his business, became a millionaire, traveled the world with his family and now lives in a huge mansion at the lake and is happy about all that. All of his 9 grandchildren are healthy and he feels very fortunate to be able to provide for them. He has a small boat and his grandchildren love to visit Vince and cruise around with a boat on the lake or swim in the pool in his garden. Vince still is fit and healthy because even though he got some stressful periods in his life, he always respected his body and mind and relaxed and regenerated when he needed to, and also never stopped learning and growing. That way, he also made use of the last habit, habit 7, to sharpen your saw, all life long. On one Sunday, Vince and Nolan decide to meet each other. They go to their old school in the town they were born in, and they sit down on one of the benches they used to play on when they were young. You can clearly see the differences between Nolan and Vince. Nolan is scarred by life, his face is wrinkly and his walk is slow. Vince on the other side seems to be fit and healthy for his age. They both sit down and talk about their lives. Nolan asks Vince, "How does it come that our lives went in such different directions? Why we seemed so similar when we were kids at this school? You became rich, you are healthy, you have a beautiful family, and I struggled with everything all my life. How can this be?" They talked about Nolan's question for hours, and they found 7 differences. At first, these 7 differences are just small ideas. They are different approaches to life. But if you make use of these 7 ideas regularly, they will shape your life in a completely different direction, so that you can really live your dream. Over time, these 7 small ideas will become 7 habits. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Hey guys, did you know that there is an 8th habit that is called Find Your Voice? And did you know that the 7 habits of highly effective people are based on 4 underlying principles? If you want to find out more, make sure to click on the video. And also I created a nice short and clean video on each of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Just click here to start with everyone. And don't forget to click the like button and make sure to subscribe and never miss a single video. Thanks for watching and see you on Minion No More.